Back everyone to Einstein's Eyes. I'm Carl Rosen. I got my partner here, Jon Ditkoff. I am an oculoplastic surgeon and fellowship trained neuro-ophthalmologist in Anchorage, Alaska. This is our 51st YouTube video, which
very cool.
We hit a milestone after 50. The channel has been growing. We thank you. We welcome your subscriptions and your views. So really, really appreciate it. Jon's in New Jersey. Jon.
Hello, everyone. I'm a cornea specialist who also does general ophthalmology. Been in northern New Jersey for almost 30 years now in practice. And it's always great to see Carl.
Yeah. So in Alaska, a bit different from back at Einstein where we trained in New York. The hustle and bustle is no longer with me. The blaring horns and everything else. Got mountains all around me, which is real nice. Today, we're going to talk about how to protect yourself from solar retinopathy, which can happen by looking at the sun during an eclipse, or just looking at the sun if, unfortunately, you have a psychiatric illness or for some other reasons. And there are other reasons as well. And Jon's going to go into all these. Jon is the cornea expert, anterior segment expert, and I'm going to listen to Jon's comments, and I'm looking forward to what he has to say. Jon.
Yes, interestingly, the first thing I would say is that both Carl and I did this wonderful training at Einstein, and we went through med school. And I have to admit, I don't remember ever reading a textbook or anything in a textbook about, oh my God, don't look at an eclipse, or what happens if you look at an eclipse, and what happens if you look at the sun. But we did learn about solar retinopathy. It was kind of like an afterthought. And then all of a sudden, we have the eclipse going on, and I'm getting 150 calls a day to my office. What can I do? What can't I do? What glasses are appropriate? Tons of good jokes about it. But the bottom line was, for me, it was really partly research. I wanted to find out for my own benefit and also my patient's benefit on what the deal is. So it really comes down to this. Staring at the sun is not good for your eyes. We all know that. The sun can cause UV damage to your retina, but it can also cause UV damage to other parts of your eye. So we always tell people to wear sunglasses and don't stare directly in the eye. So the key thing is, why is the eclipse so different? Why is it in the news? Why are we all saying, don't look at the sun? And the answer is very simple. When there's a total solar eclipse or even a partial solar eclipse, it's easier to look directly at the sun because it's being blocked by the moon. So a lot of people think, and it's pretty cool to look at. So a lot of people look up there and they're like, oh, I want to check this out. And they just keep looking and looking and looking.
Jon, let me show an example of it.
Great. So those people in the audience, don't look at this. Just kidding. You can look at it now because it's through a camera.
Right.
But so what Carl's showing is the moon. This is a total solar eclipse. The moon is completely covering the sun. I mean, we're not going to get into all the anatomy because that's not my deal, but maybe Carl can talk about that. But the bottom line really is, you think by looking at this, somehow you're fine because the moon is covering the sun, and you can really look at it without, being light sensitive. Normally, you look at the sun. One of the protections we have is the pupil constricts. We kind of shy away and we don't really look at it very long because it's not pleasant. But when you look at a solar eclipse, it's not that bright. So you can actually look at it for a long period of time. And that's dangerous. So anytime you look at the sun, just to get away from something, well, as you look, oh, I can't look at the sun today because you should look at the sun ever. Looking directly at the sun can cause damage that we're going to talk about. So why is a solar eclipse such?
Okay,
yeah. So
go ahead.
When a person looks at the sun, and most people, they look at the sun, it hurts. They're not going to look at it for more than a couple of seconds. At the most, they're going to avoid looking at the sun, or they're going to put sunglasses on, but they're still not going to look directly at the sun because sunglasses don't really protect you from that bright, bright sun looking at you and damaging you. So what did Carl allude to before? The cases I've seen, and I've only seen 3 cases in my whole career, which I think is a lot, of solar retinopathy. All 3 of the cases that I saw were not from people that looked at an eclipse. They were people that were just staring at the sun. They were sun gazers. And all 3 of them had psychiatric problems that Carl had mentioned. For some reason, I guess these people were either on antipsychotics or they were on some type of medication, or they were not all there, which meant they were looking at the sun and they didn't realize how much it was hurting or damaging them. So they kept looking at it. And all 3 of the patients I have that have solar retinopathy, it's very obvious. So what Carl's showing is this little white spot in the macula, where
here's the macula,
essentially
right?
the
Right
macula is
here.
kind of burnt out. It's really burnt
then-
out. The macula is your central vision. It's where all your cones, or most of your cones, are located. So these people will have either extremely poor vision, 2100, 2200, or they'll have what we call a scotoma, where they'll look at things and they feel like one part of the vision is missing. So that's solar retinopathy, and it's very rare, and it's even more rare from an eclipse. But the big warning that all my patients will call me about is, well, why can't I look at an eclipse? And the answer is, when you look at an eclipse, you're essentially looking right at the sun, and the sun has very powerful UV rays that can damage your retina. So a lot of people are calling me and saying, "What are the symptoms? My eye feels a little itchy today. Is it the eclipse?" Nah. I mean, the eclipse almost never causes symptoms that you can feel, like irritation, burning, tearing, headaches. It really is something that comes on after a few days, where you would start to lose vision, either not seeing or having part of your vision that's missing. And that is solar retinopathy, eclipse retinopathy. So you guys should get your special glasses. I think Carl has a picture of that. Very cool, very stylish. And if you wear those glasses, these are not regular sunglasses. So a lot of my patients call me, "Can I look through my sunglasses?" No. Regular sunglasses have very good UV protection. They're great when you're seeing the sun indirectly. So you're out there playing tennis, playing golf, the sun is coming near your eye. But looking directly at the sun, even with regular sunglasses, even without an eclipse, is not good for you. So when you look at an eclipse or the sun with regular sunglasses, it can damage your eye. These are the only babies that you can use and still look at the sun, because they really block the UV rays.
You're right. I've seen 2 cases, psychiatric illnesses, both. However, you also can get, or believe you can get, solar retinopathy from looking at a laser or other high intensity devices for too long. And other symptoms that I recognize are also something called metamorphopsia, where straight lines look wavy. So if you look at a door jamb or the edge of a door, it'll look like the side is not straight, but it has a curve to it. Or even when you read, you'll see that the letters have some waviness or blurriness or curves that should not exist.
One of the things I meant to mention is, even looking through a camera, if you look through the camera, it doesn't have any protection for you. So when you take a picture of an eclipse or the sun, you can take it without looking in the camera and then look at the picture of that. You can do, and it's not going to damage your camera. A lot of people think that, but the thing is, if you hold the camera up to your eye and look at it, yeah, that can cause damage. It's like looking through glasses that don't have protection.
Right. The other thing we should mention is prognosis and therapy. Prognosis is usually most people get better than 20/40. And
well, there are definitely people that after a few months can regain everything, if not close to it. But there are definitely also people that never regain their vision.
That's right. And then therapy, steroids are the go-to, anti-inflammatory, antioxidative, but really there's been no double-blinded, peer-reviewed literature to support that. It's kind of anecdotal.
Yeah, I think you're desperate to try something, but I don't think it really works very well. The only hope is that whatever happened, maybe you're only looking at it for 10 seconds as opposed to 30. So maybe it didn't really damage it that badly. That's all you're hoping.
Right. So anyway, hey, Jon, thanks a million. Thanks to the audience for showing up, giving us a view and a thumbs up, and please subscribe. As we mentioned, we will see you on the next video. So long.